Hey everybody, I'm standing here in the little woods we have in our front yard, and I am going to plant our mailbox garden today. For years, I have just been putting in annuals, and it's getting to be a lot of work, and it's annoying, and it's maintenance. And I really want to convert it over to a perennial bed that I just don't have to worry about as much. I can come cover, uncover in the spring, prune, trim back, but not have to replant every year. And I think it'll just be really beautiful as it continues to grow as an investment. So for context here, you can see we've got the mailbox bed and then that bed there in the woods behind. So what I want to start to do is establish a really lovely set of perennials, a lovely design with some nice color, and also things that will bloom over the course of the season, so that's very thoughtful. So let's get going. I have started to pull out weeds to clean up the bed a little bit, and what's really fun is as I am exploring the soil and kind of getting familiar with the ground here, we have some babies coming back. We've got the morning glories that always reseed themselves. These are grandma's morning glories, so they're very special. I love that I have them naturally seeding themselves around the pole so that they could climb it. The other neat thing I'm noticing is a lot of these little seedlings. They are everywhere. And I'm wondering if they are a legit plant. They almost look like a baby zinnia to me. And I suspect, because I've planted zinnias here for many years, I think they might have reseeded themselves naturally, which is super cool. They're all over the place, so I'm just gonna leave them and see what they do. I hope it'll be a super fun surprise. This is also a really harsh location. I can only have plants that are really, really tough, that can handle arid, hot, very dry conditions. I admittedly am too lazy to get out here and water it regularly, so these plants are gonna have to tough it out. Here is our roster of plants that we're gonna put in the ground. We've got white phlox, marigolds, balloon flower, these beautiful dianthesis carnation. I've also got some gorgeous lilies I just got from a local gardener here who sells perrenials. And I just dug up a little patch of bee balm that is super tall out of the flower bed. I love designing garden beds. I think it's one of my favorite parts. That's why I like starting new ones and placing things, because it is so much fun. So to start off, what I'm doing is looking at the shape of the bed here and figuring out where I want my height, just following basic good design principles. We want to have the height more in the middle of the arrangement. So I've got 3 holes because I know I have 3 tall plants. Also, we have bulbs in the ground already that I've put in for the spring. These are daffodils, so whenever I'm digging up a bed like this, I can see another one here. I'm going to make sure I save and then put them back in place so that they're not disturbed once I get the new plants planted in. Sorry about the airplane noise. Hopefully it's not too loud. Obviously I can't control that. So I've got these plants in here placed just to make sure I get a nice visual before I start throwing stuff in the ground. So I added another hole here, and I thought, these 2 lilies, they're thin, like as far as the shape goes, because they're very tall and spiky. So I don't want to separate them out. I want to keep them as a grouping. So I threw both of those together here, and there's actually 3 plants. I see 2 in this pot, 1 in that pot, so that's great. Got a nice mass here of these lilies, and they've got some nice height on them coming up. I also decided to put the bee balm here in the back and then stagger these 2 phlox kind of more in the front because they're a little bit shorter. They've got a nice white pop of color here too, and I'm really loving how this is looking. I am not a symmetrical design type person. I don't like the formality, and I love asymmetrical, more organic design. So this feels really good to me because you've got things here, there. They're not uniform, but they do have a cohesive pattern that really does tie together. When I pull them out of their container here, I'm always going to rustle up that root mass and get it broken up. If there's some axis down here, I'll pull that out just because we want to give the plant a fresh start so it can really establish itself in the new hole in the soil. You can see this one's really root bound. So I'm really breaking it up. I pulled these mass of roots off just to give it a new fresh start. I also pull off any of the dead pieces, again, to clean it up, get it in its best condition, and then put it in the ground. And there we've got our lilies planted. I always like to just make like a little ridge around plants in the soil like that so that when I water, the water can kind of catch and stay around them and doesn't run off. All right, and there is our phlox, first one in. So these already look beautiful to me. Very happy with that. All right, now I'm getting into my mid and lower height plants. So I'm kind of taking stock of what I've got here. So I've got 2 short lilies, 2 balloon flowers, 3 of those dianthus, and a smattering of these smaller annual marigolds. And I'm just going to throw them in for some color because I really love orange. I'm going to figure out where I want to place them and then make those holes. I also want to consider the mature height of these plants so that the design doesn't get wonky over time. So looking at what we've got here, it looks like the balloon flower can get up to 2 feet tall. It looks like the dianthus can get up to 10 inches tall. So I actually want these to be, the balloon flower to be more in the center. I'm not sure about the lilies, so I might put them more towards the center too, and then basically gradually cascade it down so these are more on the outside and those are more on the outside. All right, here's what I'm thinking for the balloon flowers and those shorter or medium lilies. I basically made like a zigzag of holes, so one there, one there, one there, one there. And that way it's basically relating to those other plants by being in the middle of where they are, so it kind of zigs, which I love. I think that's an awesome organic pattern. And then I was like, well, do I do 2 lilies here, 2 balloon plants there? I just think that would look less natural and have less flow, and I like the idea of going every other, so that if you're looking at the garden from this side or you're looking at from that side, you're still going to see the pops of the blue or any other colors. I'm loving the colors. While these blooms are really stunning, I mean, that color almost is hard to even see on camera. It's so vibrant. They do get gnarly after a while. If you have any tips on how to more efficiently deadhead these, I'm all ears. What I'm finding is when I go to pinch back the spent bloom, I'm often taking the new bud here with me, and I don't want to do that. And I'm not finding a real easy way to do it. I mean, I'm trying to just pinch off what I can here. So if anyone has any tips, has experience with dianthus and how to maintain them in an efficient way, I really would love any comments. See, that's a great example. This bloom just came off when I was trying to pinch this one off. And I don't want to be super, super precise and careful all the time because that would take forever and then I won't do it. I really don't have this down. If you have tips, let me know. Because it has this interesting back side of the garden here with the mailbox, and we could end up putting in like medium and smaller stuff later to cascade down from these height elements in the center, I think it would be really funky and really cool to asymmetrically carry over an accent of that same red over on this end. I just think it would bring cohesion to the design because you've got 2 things over here, 1 over here, so it carries it throughout. I love this idea. I am really, really in love with this. And it's so fun when you start playing with the design and then the different elements start to like tell you what they need. It kind of tells you what to do. And And these dianthus, wow, are they stunning. They look even better in the ground than in the pot, which is obviously what you want. But they're so stunning. I have been looking for these. I found these ones at Home Depot. Again, a great deal, just like Lowe's. I love that they have this silvery bluish sort of foliage. I think it's a really striking difference from other more green, standard, limey, or Kelly green foliage in the garden. So it's a neat contrast. Plus these blooms. I just love that red so much. All right, and then I just got the marigolds left here. And the fun thing about putting in short accent plants is you can just put them wherever you want. And again, I don't want this to be real formal, so I'm just gonna kind of put different groupings throughout the edges and outside, wherever I think is fun. I grew these marigolds myself inside the spring from seed that I harvested last year. And I am so happy that I did that. They're very worth it because they are such hard workers. They're a great accent to just plug in different places. Orange is my favorite color. It's an awesome annual that is worth fussing with. And they get really, really big. So once they're out of this little container, this was like a little food container that I seeded them in, and they're in the ground, they will get very large. They will get to be like a small bush size, which is very forgiving. They bloom the entire season, and they really work hard in the heat, which I just am so grateful for. All right, that's a wrap. Look, it is all done. We got the mailbox garden planted. First time with perrenials, just a few of the annuals with the marigolds in. I absolutely love how this turned out. I love the primary colors. It's exactly what I was going for. And the best thing about a perennial garden is that it's going to keep filling in and coming back every year. These plants are very hardy to this area in zone 4B, Minnesota. They're beautiful, and then I can add more and keep building on it over time.